Oh my god, I'm so hungry. I need food right now. She just stayed in that one lane. But he does seem very juvenile. Not gonna lie. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Leah and this is an ode to fiction. Your one stop for book recommendations, book wrap-ups, and just all around books. Today will be a different kind of video because this will be my first ever book review. I recently finished a duology and I'm very excited to talk about this duology because it's been swimming around my head and I really need to get it out. Even though I've already written reviews for it on Goodreads and on my blog, I just wanted to speak my mind about it and put it on YouTube. So because I haven't been seeing a lot of people making reviews of this book and I really want to talk about it. The book that I'm talking about is the Book of Tea series. Starts off with the first book, A Magic Steeped in Poison. It is by Judy I. Judy I. is a Chinese, I think, Chinese-Canadian writer, and I got this book during the Toronto Word on the Street book festival, and I was so excited about this book because the cover is it's so beautiful. Besides that, I've seen a lot of reviews from my friends regarding this book. Some of them are like, it's good. Some of them are like, it's okay. And I wanted to know where I fall in the spectrum. So I picked up the book, I got it signed as well. Here you go. And also, Judy also gave some goodies. But currently those goodies are behind my dresser. I read this in July. It was released on March 29th, 2022. And the sequel of Venom, Dark and Sweet will be released on August 23rd. There's 5 months apart between the first book and second book. And I also got the arc for the sequel that I will be talking about in the second half of this video. But first, let's talk about the first book. A Magic Steeped in Poison is a story that follows our protagonist Ning. Ning is the daughter of a small town, Shenongshi. Shenongshi is in this world, practitioners of the tea magic that is associated with the god Shenong. And in this story, Ning just suffered from a huge tragedy after she lost her mom to very mysterious poison that is contained in the tea that she brewed. That is in the first chapter, so definitely it's not spoilers at all. And in the synopsis, you can read that first line is, for Ning, the only thing worse than losing her mother is knowing that it's her own fault. So it's not a spoiler. It's contained in the very first sentence. So Ning, after discovering this, that her mother died, her sister also drank the same tea that her mom drank, and her sister is currently in critical condition. She's dying, and Ning, as being the older sister that she is, seeing this and seeing the state of her father that is deeply shaken by the double tragedy that just happened to his family, is currently just out of sorts, and Ning took it upon herself to find a way to cure her sister by joining a Shenongshi competition that is being held by the kingdom to find the best Shenongshi in the realm. Ning runs away from home, goes to the capital, and joins the competition. But the thing is, I need you all to remember that Ning is an amateur Shenongshi. Her mother is a practicing Shenongshi, but her mother didn't pick Ning as her apprentice, instead picking her younger sister. So her younger sister has more skills than Ning. But Ning, being the daughter that she has observed the lessons that were given to her younger sister, so she kind of knows the basics, but she doesn't really know that deeply. And during the competition, she meets this guy, a boy. She befriends this stranger boy. Turns out this boy is not what he said he is. He has secrets. On to my review of this book. For A Magic Steeped in Poison, I would like to start with praises first. First, I want to praise the magic system. One of the things that really caught my eye the first time reading this book is how intricate and how well thought out the magic system is. The magic system here is tea-based. Like I said in the synopsis, Ning is a Sanongshi. He is a practitioner of tea magic. It means that she can use tea and components of certain herbs and plants to make into tea, and can imbue certain things into the tea to the drinker or to herself to heal people. But the tea magic itself, it's very expansive. It's not really fixed on certain things you can do, such as heal or like enhance abilities, but it can do anything. In this book, Ning can even use it to commune to the gods and ask for their help for her to heal a person. Just I found very fascinating, and the way that the tea magic is being described and how it is practiced on page is very, very intricate, and it's very detailed, and it's very graceful. I really liked it. And every time that the magic is being discussed and how it is connected to the gods in this book, and how deep the connection is between the gods and practicing this tea magic is very interesting. The next one is the world, not how the world is described itself. It's more of the history of this world and the lore of the world, because there are certain gods that are connected to certain type of practices. So there's the god for education, and then also gods for the tea magic practitioners, and there's also gods for other things that I don't remember. Another thing about the world building that I really liked is how vivid Judy Island really describes food in this world. Every time I open a page and there's like descriptions of food, I would be like, oh my god, I'm so hungry, I need food right now. Aside from that, there's also character relationships that really stood out to me, especially the friendship between Ning and Lian, one of the competitors in the story. Their female friendship is very endearing to me, and I'm glad they formed like a very strong bond throughout this story. That really left an impression on me compared to the relationship between Ning and the other characters, in my opinion. Now I want to discuss the negatives. The negatives are a bit much for the first book, to be honest, because I feel that this first book is on the weaker side compared to like the sequel, because it is the book that needs to set the tone of the story, and I felt like there are certain things in this book that wasn't executed well. I'm going to start with the first thing that I had a gripe with while reading this book, and it is the plot. I felt like the plot wasn't cohesive enough. There are so many plot holes in the book. We'll start off with the fact that Ning is an amateur, and I don't understand how come she has this like enhanced ability in performing tea magic, even though she is an amateur. She is not portrayed as an amateur in my eyes throughout reading the book. I felt like she already knows, she has experience in practicing it. I understand in her background that she helped her father practice medicine, but I can't really see a teenager being able to do what she did in the book. It's very hard to like see it for me. And then I felt like certain plots, mostly in the competition side of things, the way that Judy incorporates like political intrigue into the book is through the competition. That's how Ning is roped with the current political scheming in the core. And yet, it wasn't done in a way that it made sense. There are certain things that happened during the challenge that really interrupts the flow of the story, and it also made Ning advance in the competition without really doing anything. And I felt like it made it easy for her to like move forward. And also the elimination system is a bit much. The way they eliminated a lot of people really fast, it didn't make sense to me. It's too easy. The next thing that I found that I had a gripe with is actually Ning herself. Ning as a protagonist, she felt very one-noted, in my opinion. She didn't get outside of her few lists of tropes that were presented in her character work. I felt that she could have grown, but she stuck to the same old list of typical protagonists in a young adult fantasy. I felt that she could be more than that, but she just stayed in that one lane. I don't see any complexities in her character work. I don't see that she's grown in this story. I felt like she's just starting her journey, and she's come to realize that she needs to grow, so she hasn't really blossomed to become the character that she is, and she hasn't really connected with the weight of the things that she is burdened with. I felt like the whole time that I was reading. She has a really deep relationship with her mother, and there was lots of snippets of her just throwing it back to the time where her mother gave her advice. And I see this is very prominent in the book, and yet I felt like it was too repetitive. It was the same old record. And then there's the love interest. I felt like the love interest was plain as paper. I didn't like how the whole time this love interest was in the middle, and he was so indecisive about himself, and he wasn't really compelling on page the first time he appeared. I felt like he was just so plain, so forgettable, in my opinion. That's why I felt like this book is on the weaker side, so I rated this book at 3 out of 5 stars. I didn't really like it that much, but of course I continued on with the story, and I decided to read the sequel of Venom, Dark and Sweet. Hello everyone, this is Editing Leah. I just wanted to mention, because I forgot to mention it in the whole video, that I received an ARC, or an advanced reader's copy, for A Venom, Dark and Sweet, the sequel of A Magic Steeped in Poison, from the publishers, as part of a blog tour promotion that I will be doing on my blog, anodetofiction.com. My schedule will be on August 26th, so by the time this video is up, my review for the blog tour will be up as well, if you want to read it. So yeah, thank you to the publishers and TBR and Beyond blog tours for the art. So let's head on back to the video. Yay! I want to warn you that this will be a bit spoilery if you haven't read the first book. So read the first book first, pause this video, and then watch the rest of the video for the review of the sequel of Venom, Dark and Sweet. If you haven't read the first book, you wouldn't know the names in this second book. There are so many improvements. First of all, when I read this book, it continues on immediately right after the ending of the story. The story continues on with a double POV now, so which makes it a lot more interesting, because we get to see the point of view of Kang. Kang is the mysterious boy that appeared in A Magic Steeped in Poison. So Kang and Ning, they developed a very deep relationship by the end of A Magic Steeped in Poison. Now we have a double POV. I felt like this made the story more interesting to me, because you get to see the Coop side on Kang's POV, and then we get to see the more adventure survival side on Ning's side of the story. Kang is currently in the capital. His father has taken power and the princess is currently on the run with Ning, and they are trying to find allies to help them get the throne back and stop Kang's father from ascending to become the emperor. I like that the story starts off very fast-paced. I like that this story really opens up the world, because before it is so focused in the kingdom. You don't really get to see the expanse of the kingdom. You only get to see like the court drama. But now it is much more interesting because you also get the court drama and the adventure side of the story. Besides that, we also get to see a lot more world in the sequel. We get to see other parts of the kingdom. These other parts that are associated with the gods that I mentioned in the Magic Steeped in Poison, and the myth of the world and the lore of the world. You get to dig deeper into that. You get to see a lot more places. My favorite place in the sequel has to be the bamboo forest. Something about it really reminds me of the bamboo forest in the movie Shang-Chi by that Marvel movie. Same as before, Judy also, the way she describes food in this world is top-notch tasty. Besides that, we also get to see more fantasy elements in this book. I like that the story pivots from having politics as its main core of the plot to becoming that there is a bigger entity looming on the horizon that is trying to take over the world, and this entity is threatening the peace of the kingdom, which led to Ning being the person that is destined to fight this entity and to save the kingdom. Now that this is solidified in the sequel, that Ning is the chosen one, whatever happened in the first book made sense, because I didn't get the gist that she was a chosen one in the first book, to be honest. I don't know why. It just didn't reflect that in the first book. But now in the second book, you get to see Ning really embrace the role of being the chosen one, and how she is fully coming to terms that she can do this. She needs to do this. She needs to save everyone. And she is fully embracing the protagonist role that I was waiting for her to embrace. And then we get to see Kang. And Kang here is a character that finally has flesh and bones. He has a personality now. Now we get to see his conflict, his torn opinions about his father and the current situation of the world, while also him just lamenting about his relationship with Ning. And also he is reflecting about what is right and what is just in this world. And he's just going through it. He's figuring things out. I hate to say that his character is still needs a bit more work to be more complex. I felt certain times that he doesn't want to be underestimated because he is the son of the soon-to-be emperor, but he does seem very juvenile. Not gonna lie. But I still liked his characterization more in this sequel. He's better. He's not good, but he's better. We'll continue on to the plot now. There's a lot of plot holes in the first book. And the second book, I feel like the way Judy I ties everything up is very nice. It's very neat. It all made sense. I think Judy has finally found a way to tie up the loose knots that were there in the first book into the second book, because when I read the second book, I truly did not know how Judy will end the story. And the way the ending was delivered and executed, I felt like it was pretty good. Everything that went down during the ending made sense and solidified the story more. I think that the sequel is much more entertaining than the first book. I felt like the story is much more epic, and you get to see a lot of new characters that really add to the story. There was a side character that really pulled my heartstrings, and he was like not a significant character. The way Judy wrote his character into the story and the way this character develops relationship with the other characters, and then the end of this character, what this character went through is way much more compelling than whatever Kang went through. And I really like this character, and I swear I think I shed a tear for this character, even though he's not a character that is significant in the story, but this character really left a huge impression on me. Also, let's talk about the villain. The villain in the story, sometimes they are pretty intense, and I like that the villain has like intensity, and the way this villain just go through with their plan is very interesting. But there was this POV of this villain that was a bit mustache twirling villain, but still the villain is very entertaining to read. I like that it is like a god, and I like that the reach of this god is so vast. I found that it made sense that their abilities in this world and how they are capable of doing what they do because of their powers. And yet, how the story of this villain and how they gained power is a bit rushed, in my opinion. The explanation of the motivation of this villain, and then the trigger that eventually made this villain able to gain power to start their plan was a bit rushed, because the ending just opened up more holes. The story could use a bit more explanation, and a friend of mine actually said that this book deserved a third book. I couldn't agree more, but I also felt like, even though it's a duology, I felt like this ending is still satisfying for me. Might I say, the ending is a bit brutal and a bit dark, and there are certain parts of this story that really reach into the darkest parts of East Asian legends and stories and mythology. So the magic in the sequel is much more detailed, and you get to see Ning do a lot of cool stuff compared to the first book, and you get to see Ning use the magic in practicing it in real life during dire circumstances, and it's very fun to see it. The magic for me is my favorite thing that came out of this series, and it is a thing that really fueled me to wanting to read more of it. And also the myth that is connected to the magic of the gods and the relationship and the legend that has come to fruition in the plot of the story, and how it all connects and how it is packaged together into a neat story. And I felt that it was done well. Judy really did a lot of work in the sequel to finally end the saga of Ning and Kang. So I rated A Venom, Dark and Sweet 4 out of 5 stars. I highly recommend you read this series. It is an all-around good young adult series with intriguing magic, interesting characters, even though the first book takes a while for these characters to bloom into the characters that we get to see in the second book. It is still a good story. And then besides that, you get also the magical competition element. You get political scheming, intrigue, and court drama. There's also, in the sequel, you get to see an adventuring story, and then you get to see political side of the story where the emperor is trying to hold on to the power that he just gained, and then you get to see a lot of legends and myths and a lot of new characters, and there's way better character relationship in the second one. We get to see a sisterly bond between Ning and her younger sister, and then we get to see a little bit of sapphic romance between the Empress and her bodyguard that is already established in the first book. The Book of Tea series is a very good series. Even though I didn't like the first book, I still like the second book. The writing is very accessible, it's very easy to get into. You don't need to think much about it. So yes, highly recommend. So yes, that is all my opinion on the Book of Tea series by Judy I. Pick up the first book, A Magic Steeped in Poison. It's already available everywhere. And then pick up the sequel, A Venom Dark and Sweet. You can definitely binge this series because now it is complete. On August 23rd, 2022. I think by the time I post this, it will already be released. I hope you enjoy this series as much as I did. I hope you like Ning and Kang and everyone else in between. Stay tuned for more book reviews or maybe book recommendations because I just noticed that there are 250 plus subscribers on this channel and I'm very happy and thankful. Thank you for watching. Bye!